Hi everyone. Hi everyone. So we started off with a bit of a lazy day at the yard. Most of the horses were sleeping. Sleeping. Come on, Sleepy. So I thought I would talk to you today about your position. I take lots of footage today, but I had a big fail moment because I set it all up, it was all going, and then my storage was full. Anyhow, I thought I'd talk to you about your position and things that you can practice while you are at home. Can't do too much. You don't want to do any unsafe things, but it's always good to actually practice your position and trying to make sure that you sit appropriately and sit properly. I remember having a lesson with a guy named Tim Downs when I was working in Hong Kong. Tim is a fellow of the British Horse Society, and he's also one of the chief assessors for the BHS. He also runs Ingestree Equestrian Centre and has won Instructor of the Year in the UK. And in this whole lesson, the only thing that we did was walk and trot. We didn't even do any circles. We were just going large in the arena. And it was probably one of the hardest lessons I've ever had. The reason being is that he was really focused on making sure that we were sitting very evenly with an even weight in both stirrups, even weight in both seat bones, shoulder square, elbow square, and that we had a really even contact. And he was super anal about it, and he really made sure that we weren't allowed to go any fast until we got that really steady. And then next to that, the only thing that we did was just keeping the tempo. So the only thing he made us do was position and tempo, and that lasted for a whole hour. But something that I've taken away from that is that that position is really, really important. And especially when you start to go sort of through the levels and you become a little bit more experienced, at some stage your position is probably going to hold back the improvement of your horse. The way Tim Downs described it, what I quite liked is he actually called it rider acceptance. And why I think that's quite good, because I do see that when I teach, is that a lot of people get pushed around a little bit by their horses. So they start sitting crooked, and how much of that is the person actually being crooked or the horse putting you in a crooked position. And I do often find that when the horse is actually going, what I often do find is when the rider actually starts sitting up a little bit more and starts to sit up a little bit straighter, and it makes a few little adjustments, the horse often starts to go a lot better too. So one of the things that you really want to focus on is just that sitting up straight. So I've got a photo here. So I just took a screenshot of myself when I was riding, and you can see that that line, so that white line shows the straightness from the shoulder through the hip to the back of the heel. Being in that position means that your body is lined up. What you want to watch out for is that you don't tense up too much. So it's quite tricky because a lot of things make you tense up. and you don't want to force yourself. But if you think of sitting up straight, trying to find your seat bones and then letting your leg hang. And I often almost think a little bit more about dropping my knee rather than dropping my heel, because the moment you push your heel down, you actually bring your lower leg forward. And I've got a photo of that of one of the kids that I teach, where you can see the position that she's in, that she would naturally be in, which is with her leg quite far forward. And then I made it a few little tweaks, and you can see that she's actually sitting up a little bit straighter. Now, when you're sitting up straight, you're automatically using your core a little bit more. And the way you almost want to think of that is that if your horse disappears from underneath your body, when the horse disappears from underneath your body, you'll be standing on the ground and you will be standing relatively balanced. So if your lower leg is too far forward, you will tip back and you would fall on your bottom. And if you are tipping forward with your upper body, and that often also means that your lower leg moves back, that means that you'll probably fall forward. So trying to have that balance at all stages is really important. One of the things that you want to think of when you actually try to sit up straight is engaging your core. And when you engage your core, you almost want to think as if you're pulling the pelvis a little bit upwards and you're almost pushing your ribs down a little bit. So you're not just tightening yourself up really tight. You can't breathe that way. There's just a slight lift of the pelvis up and then a slight push down with your ribs. Now, when you look at your arms, what you want to think of is having a straight line from your elbow to the horse's mouth. So when you're holding the reins, you've got a steady contact, a straight line from the elbow to the horse's mouth. Now what you can see in that picture, that little screenshot that I took, is that my hands are actually slightly too high in this case. But so what you can think of when you're riding, when you're to think about your elbows and your hands, is squaring up your shoulders, squaring up your elbows, and almost think pushing your elbow down a little bit and having your hand forward in a fist, almost as if you're punching someone. So the next video shows you really well how a little difference can make a big impact.
Hands up a little. Can you feel when you do that, you immediately start sitting up straighter?
I've just slowed that down for you so you can see it a little bit better. So what you see is when she lifts up her hand, she starts to sit up a little bit more, and the horse actually starts to take a slightly bigger stride too. Alright, so I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message. What you can do as well is take a little video of yourself and send it to me, and I'll give you some tips on how you can actually make those little bits better. Well, that was it for today, and I'll see you soon.